And we are back on the Fowler Show. Now, we've heard so much about sequestration. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but the whole idea that sequestration is going to happen just a couple days from now is really causing pause all across our country and all across our land. But beyond that point, an interesting point and introspect to it when you think about sequestrations, they've had this whole thing that we got to protect the Pentagon. We've got to protect defense. We've got to protect defense. But to some people out there in the progressive movement, this is a complete and total farce and a straw man to protect Republican lobbyists and congressional interest. I am not one to talk about this. We're joined by Laicie Heeley. She's from the Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation. She's a senior policy analyst there. Laicie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. Now tell me, is protecting the Pentagon the only way we can save the strong American name across the world?
Well, there are a lot of people in Congress and a lot of people in the military who would say yes, but the reality is at this particular moment in time, we're coming up on another one of these moments in Congress where there's sort of a desperate moment and all the sky is falling and it's really going to be terrible. But in reality, this sequester, if it were to kick in, would actually take the military, down a little bit at first, but over the next 10 years, the military budget would still rise. So it's less of a cut and more of a decrease in inflation. And so that's something that is sort of getting lost in the argument when individual Congress people are really, thinking a lot more about particular programs in their district that might be cut and ultimately, maybe would rather just deal with this sequester thing than have to really take a close look at military strategy and think about what we should and should not have.
Well, that's an interesting point. So, I mean, a lot of times we've seen congressmen defend the military because they happen to have, the airplane making factory in their district, or they might have a military uniform making factory in district, and they're trying to protect that particular factory more so than really trying to keep our quote unquote military strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the F-35, which is a program that just today, it's the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, just today was taken down because they've got one more problem in the program, and this is a program that's been plagued by problems, and it's gotten more and more expensive, and it's been delayed a million times. And once more, we're seeing this again. It has 1,300 suppliers in 45 different states in key congressional districts. So this is a program that has a ton of support. And it's also this major boondoggle that a lot of people just see getting out of control. But with all that congressional support, it's just not going anywhere.
Well, that's interesting you say that because, we've seen a lot from members of the right talk about, fraud, waste, and abuse. And to have a fighter have all these different mistakes, I know there's one point in time, and I'm no military expert, we created a fighter that we never really wanted to use. There's equipment that we've bought, that the military has bought, or through pork barrel spending or through lobbying efforts that we'll never, ever use to fight in a war, but it just sort of sits in a warehouse. I mean, isn't that really what fraud, waste, and abuse is, Laicie?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, there was a big uproar during the strike in Libya because the F-22, which was the last plane that we built, that also had 1,000 suppliers in 44 states. It was built and then production was stopped but we had all these planes and they weren't used, and people looked at that and thought, that's funny. We just built this really high-tech new plane, and then we launched a strike, and we didn't actually need it. So ultimately, there are a lot of programs that are continuing because we're really focusing on this old school strategy that's routed in the Cold War and routed in World War II. We're not taking a look at the fact that we have drones now, we have the ability to fight wars in a different way, and we're also fighting different wars. We have to focus on things like cyber that are a much bigger threat right now than a lot of the threats that we faced way back in the day.
So here, because I think a lot of people that are listening or watching tonight, they're a little perplexed. So this is a yes or no question. So are we saying that when we make cuts at the Pentagon, right, part of the sequester cuts, those cuts can actually be a good thing for our Army or for our military and a good thing for the country?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Pentagon hasn't actually completed an audit in many, many years, and this is something that Rand Paul is really pushing for. They don't actually even know what some of the waste is. And so we haven't really looked closely at what efficiencies could be put into place to make the Pentagon run more smoothly. I mean, this is common practice in the corporate world. This is something that were the budget a little tighter, the Pentagon would really have to take a look at this and look at strategy before just looking at the budget. And that's really the important thing. Is right now with an unlimited budget in the past 10 years of war, the even Secretary Gates said that the spigot of spending was really open and it had to be sort of at least slowed down. And that's really what ultimately sequester is not the best way to do this, but that's what's happening. That's what's happening because the wars are coming to an end, and we need to slow the spigot of spending down. And ultimately, slowing that down will force the military to take a look at its strategy, reshape for the actual threats that we're facing today, and look toward the future instead of just continuing to look back.
But Laicie, I mean, come on. But the question I think everybody's asking is why? Like, right? I think that's the big question. Like, why is it that people think? Why is it that we've heard this argument so much? That we've got to protect defense. We've got to protect defense spending. We've got to protect. We've got to protect our troops. So we've got. And that's all you hear is this. We've got to protect. We've got to protect. We've got to protect. And that messaging seems to resonate with the American people, but it's just a farce.
Well, the messaging resonates because our protecting our country is very important. I mean, I don't think anyone would disagree that we need a strong military. Where the whole messaging is getting lost is that this, even after sequester, even if sequester were to go into effect, we would still be spending more on our military than the next 9 countries combined, and all of those countries are our allies. So we really are still going to have an extremely strong military, but we've seen this very big buildup over the next 10 years that we've gotten very used to, and we've gotten used to that rate of growth, and the military has gotten used to that rate of growth, and slowing down isn't a comfortable thing. So, but it's something that's going to happen no matter what, because the wars are coming to an end, and it's happened after every single war we've ever had.
You heard that here, folks. The war is coming to an end. It's time for us to modernize or make a leaner, cleaner, greener military. Laicie, I think that's how that's how you save cost, and not this whole idea of protecting pet projects that just don't seem to work.
Right. Exactly, and that's what's happening right now. I mean, a lot of people think that Congress would actually be more comfortable just letting the sequester kick in, because then they wouldn't have to actually speak out about which programs they would rather cut over other programs, because some of those programs that they see that should be the first to go might be in their districts, and that would be much more politically painful to them than just letting this thing take place and really just being able to sort of play the other side of the argument, which is that this is terrible, but it's not in our control. Now
tell us, how can we find out more information about what's happening at the Pentagon or the Pentagon cuts, or how can we find you and sort of get more informed? I mean, I think that's the key for the American people, to get informed and empowered so they can really go out there and have a true conversation about sequestration. Definitely. We have a ton of information on this on our website. We're always writing, and we also have a blog called, it's actually called Nukes of Hazard, so that's a pretty easy one to remember. You can go to our blog, Nukes of Hazard, or you can check out our website, which is armscontrolcenter.org, and we have a ton of analysis of this and information, and you can get in contact with us, and we're always happy to tell you more. Oh, we appreciate you so much, Laicie, for being on the program, folks. It's true. Pentagon cuts aren't necessarily that bad. We can end a lot of the quote-unquote fraud, waste, and abuse that the Republican Party says we do too much of. Clearly, it's happening in their backyard on their sacred cow. Oh, boy. Are you surprised? I'm not. I'm not surprised, not one bit about this one. Laicie Heeley from the Non-Proliferation, from the Center of Arms Control and Non-Proliferation. Right back on the Fowler Show for this break.